Okay, so yeah, welcome to the Kubernetes 6 Carpenter issue triage meeting for March 17th. I can go ahead and start sharing screen. Okay, screen sharing look good?
Yep.
All right, so I guess we'll probably go ahead and start with issues, honestly, because it looks like we're down to only a few left, not triaged in the upstream repo. So, which is cool to see. We're almost caught up here. So, all right, I guess go from the bottom and work our way up. Daemon set's not being correctly calculated when choosing a node.
Quick note. This is Karpenter version 0.24.
Oh, that's what this was reported for?
Yeah, if you look at the top of the issue.
Oh, yep.
I don't know if I think there's still some confusion around this and has been. I know it's come up multiple times, at least since I've been working on the project. But is there
This
more current?
this we know is an issue for sure. When was it open?
It was
This,
opened back in March 2023, so a couple years ago almost now. I mean,
yeah, so I think it was relevant at the time. It still is relevant now because it's based on the fact that we don't match instance type requirements against name sets.
yeah.
Okay, do we have another newer issue that we want to lump this into then?
I I hesitate to I mean, yeah, sure, if there's a newer one, fine, but I think generally we should keep the older version
Yeah.
for history. I mean, the fact that we haven't addressed this in a year and a half is more a problem on us than on the original person putting the issue in my opinion. Because at the time, I think this was the newest version when they opened this issue.
Yeah, it would have been.
Yeah. Oh, no. Wait, yes. Sorry, I was mixing up my years. Yeah, it would be. Yeah, I think only question here is I think we just go into triage accepted, right? Because that was the issue you described, Jonathan, was what I figured this was the instance type selection for daemon sets. Is this just triage accepted then, or do we still need some amount of investigation? I don't think we do.
Yeah, I don't see any other like there's one other daemon set issue around overhead with taints toleration, which I'm not sure if it's relevant anymore. But this looks to be the only issue that talks about this specific problem.
Okay. But yeah, this is a problem. We already know it's an issue. I don't think we need further investigation. It's just a matter of getting it fixed. So, okay. Yeah, I'll triage accept this and we can move on to the next one. Okay, borrow mechanism between node pools and Karpenter. Okay, this is not one I've taken a look at. I think my gut, just reading through this initially, is that this is the goals of this can be achieved through existing Karpenter mechanisms. I'm thinking this is more likely, forget what we named the label key for this. I think there was one where for features where it was like needs use case, something along those lines.
Priority needs or justification or something like that.
Hmm. Oh, it's a priority label.
Yeah.
Not awaiting more evidence. Maybe, is it awaiting more evidence?
Yeah,
What was the user story around that? It was like if one node pool doesn't have resources anymore, then like you should be able to designate like a backup node pool or something that it could take instances from.
Yeah, that's kind of how I understand it. And some of it's like describing a, say, a fallback use case for like reserved on demand, for example. And I'm not sure what exact benefits like this has over just normal node pool fallback.
Right. That's what I'm like, why couldn't just the normal priority in a node pool be helpful here?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it would be really challenging to reason about exactly what is happening amongst your node pools if you're allowing things going up to a limit to then borrow from others. Like the overhead of managing all of that in code is just, I can't imagine it is better than correctly prioritizing node pools.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
what
that
I think. Like, do you need some sort of scheduler of like a node pool scheduler now that sits on top of everything? Even that would be what it would imply in my mind.
Right, and just
yeah.
like all the additional state to manage.
Yeah. I don't know. I see Jagisha's assigned to it. Doesn't look like she's in the call though. Um
I mean, should we welcome an RFC, but for the most part say not planned?
Yeah, and that's what I'm thinking the response here is. I think we would need to see some specific user stories that can't be addressed with Carpenter's existing scheduling mechanisms.
Yeah, plus one. Like more compelling user stories plus more people wanting this feature would make a big difference. It seems like. Yeah, yeah, and yes, Reed, the Node Lake. I love it. Ship it.
Okay. By then. Oh, I don't want to triage needs information and auto close it, though maybe that is what we just do for features. I think typically we haven't let feature requests auto close. But yeah, maybe that's fine in this use case. What do y'all think?
I think having some sort of like I remember in the earlier days, or maybe we still do it, where like, people would come by and put like thumbs up on features and whatnot. It seems like having some period for, yeah, like having some period where we say, okay, if you submit a new feature, we'll leave it open for thumbs up for like a few months or something. And then if there's no traction at that point, we reserve the right to archive it or something because I realized people could come later and be like, oh, that feature looks awesome. I want it. But yeah, like we can't just leave them open indefinitely, right?
Yeah, I think our thought process on keeping features open till now has been, if it is something we would be willing to accept, but we just don't have the bandwidth to, say, like dedicate people to working on the feature. Well, this at least indicates like, hey, this is something we would accept if there's an RFC, or may accept if there's an RFC or someone willing to take up the implementation work. We're just not able to commit to it ourselves at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, that makes good sense to me. But like this doesn't even have, how long has this been open now? For like a couple
This has been
months?
open for, yeah, like 6
Yeah.
months.
And there's no thumbs up on it at all. So it's like, okay, either nobody else is like agreeing that this is a feature, or no one's seen it or something. But like at this point, it's had plenty of time to bake,
Yeah, no, yeah, generally I agree. I think right now we don't have a label or anything for the automation like you're describing, which I do like, which is give that period for people to give feedback before auto closing. Needs information feels like it's a little bit too aggressive there. Because I think, though, I mean, it is a month.
Right. It's kind of
But
like needs support at this point. Needs
yeah,
collaborators.
I think right now, since it has been open for so long for this specific one, we can probably go forward with needs information and let it auto close if we don't hear back. Guess any disagreement? If not, I'll go ahead with that. All right, cool. Okay, ability to configure rate limits per node claim reconciles. Oh, this is assigned to me. It is a feature. I think this was another one where we still needed to see stronger use cases around, because this is something we had discussed in user group probably back around when this was posted. It was probably the working group immediately before, specifically around being able to tune the node claim lifecycle reconciliation rate limits. I think what we had discussed there is the actual values that exist that can be tuned do not match with what people would conceptually think that those values do. It's like there's, because it was like per item rate limiting, which is one of the reasons we were resistant to surfacing that, because it may be more confusing than anything else. Yeah, I don't know what our stance on this was, if this was something we would consider taking with stronger use cases, or maybe a story about how we could surface this in an intuitive way for users. Does anyone else recall what the outcome of that working group discussion was? Maybe it was just open an issue and we'll come back to it. It has been a while. Yeah, I think we can probably go with the accepted, but we need more information on it. I think we can also unassign me. This is not something I'm planning on working on. What was the priority label? Was it priority awaiting evidence? Awaiting more evidence, yeah. Okay, Karpenter will occasionally provision nodes that are way too large. Oh, is this? Okay, this one I just need to answer. I can go ahead and close this one out after the meeting. I'd taken a look at this one later last week and just didn't get to answering yet. Basically, the issue is they were using topology spread constraint over instance type. And when Karpenter performs like topology spread constraint checks, it A, tries to spread out as wide as possible, and B, it selects into like whenever it's doing the scheduling simulation for topology spread constraints, it selects a specific topology to launch that node claim into. That doesn't mean, and basically that means if you're doing it over instance type, you will get a random instance type that you are compatible with. This is one of the reasons we call out that Karpenter is only compatible with specific labels for topology spread constraint. Because yeah, this is a case where it's just not going to work the way that one would expect. I don't think we're considering this a bug. This is how TSC is intended to work, and trying to increase flexibility so it would work more as expected with these other labels would be very detrimental to performance. So that's kind of where we stand on that. So yeah, without a strong use case for a TSC on this label, I don't think we're going to be going forward with anything for it. But yeah, if there is one, people can of course open up a feature request.
Yeah, I feel like we discussed that one last time too.
Oh, did we? Okay. Yeah, I'll make sure to get it. I think I was not at the last one for this repo, but I'll make sure to get that closed out today.
Cool, thanks.
Okay, so is Garvin on the call? I don't think so. I think this seems relatively straightforward. You have pods which are not, which based on taints and label selectors shouldn't schedule to Karpenter nodes. Karpenter still logs that it can't schedule them, which is intended behavior. Doesn't, I think, was there any reason? I see this was assigned 2 weeks ago, so I'm going to assume it was during the last issue triage meeting. Is there a reason we didn't move this into any of the triage spots or close this out? This seems relatively straightforward. Well, I'm going to assume there may have been a reason. We can at least go for a triage needs investigation since we assigned it out to Garvin already. Yeah, the one thing I could maybe see coming as a use case out of this, if it is what I believe it is maybe a feature request for an annotation that you can put on a pod to make Karpenter explicitly ignore it, so you can avoid these labels or these logs. Okay. So Publishing failed pod schedule events can lead to etcd overflow. Hmm. Take it this is probably still needs investigation.
I'm also curious how many events were being generated. Because depending on the etcd size, I could see it because etcd performance is key based.
Mhm.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at total object count in etcd here, you've got a couple hundred, thousand jobs, 4,500 pods, and then almost a million events, right?
Yeah,
So, and back when I was working on some scalability stuff for control planes, this does lead to some degraded performance.
I
So,
think in their case, they were describing it like they had a fixed upper limit for etcd size. And that's what I assume for etcd overflow.
yeah, let me see.
Trying to see if they explicitly said that anywhere. That's my assumption based on the title.
Yeah, it looks like etcd size problems because in their case, events were 80 kilobytes on 5 days ago, like the third comment.
Yeah.
So, although that seems like a really small, even though it's key based for performance for lookups, that seems like a really small size relative to what I would expect the total database is for their etcd.
Well, is
Oh,
it?
there
I
you
mean,
go. Yeah, 4,500 pods generated almost a million events, which is translating to about 76 gigs.
yeah, I guess what is the expectation around that then? A little bit surprised because we know there are other users running at these types of scales,
I
not
mean,
running into issues with this.
I was gonna say there's like two approaches. One is, fix the constraints which are producing these pod errors, right? Like, so if you're not running into
Yeah.
these pod errors, then they're not being emitted. That's one thing. The other
Well,
is for us doing potentially at some point an audit of how many events are being generated per object, and how frequently that's happening, and how we may be able to dedupe and otherwise maybe put things into debug logging as opposed to actual events, but that makes it tough. But I mean, events in general, I understand like they're useful for troubleshooting, but depending on the cluster config, there are people that they can outright reject events from being processed. There are different TTLs for events that they could drop these after 5 minutes instead of the default hour. It's it gets really tough and control plane specific. And for people that don't manage their control planes, even more troublesome.
mhm. Yeah, I mean that all makes sense. I guess the thing I'm wondering is there are a lot of components like to I think Jonathan made the point. Yeah. Um like container D and kube scheduler, they're emitting events against pods, probably more so than Karpenter. Maybe it's just because these events with a bunch of node pools are bigger enough. But yeah, I think
I would like to know just what about their setup is causing Carpenter to send as many events as it is.
yeah.
Because if it is something that they've misconfigured that causes these pods to never schedule because of some error, then address the error.
Yeah, I mean that's more than likely what it is, right?
Yeah, I mean, there even with that, there's still always the argument of like, what's the even like if something is totally broken, what is the limit to which we should respond? Um, but there's definitely some user error and accountability, I think, too.
Alright, anyone interested in taking up an assignment here? Okay. If not, we'll have the labels for now and carry on. Okay, unable to disrupt orphan node claim when owns node is gone. Yeah, I think I can volunteer to take a look at this. Well, actually, yeah, I can still volunteer to take a look at this, but this looks like this isn't all too surprising. If a node claim isn't initialized or registered, which it looks like it's not, we're not going to be able to perform consolidation or drift, hence the disruption block mechanisms or the disruption blocked messages. Oh, wait, it does show initialized. Oh, right, we only put the annotations on the. We only put the annotations on the node, not on the node claim. Emmanuel, do you know, should node auto repair if a node claim was registered and then it was deleted, or then the node was deleted, but the node claim is still there? Does node auto repair recycle it?
No, we wash for conditions on the actual node.
Got it. Okay. So in this case, the remediation would be for
I guess I'm
the
confused
user.
why. I guess I'm confused why garbage collection doesn't handle this.
The instance is still there, probably. I have a feeling. I mean, I'll put a needs investigation and assign it to myself to answer those questions, but I'm pretty sure it's because the instance probably still exists. They just deleted the node object. Now, why that didn't trigger
So then-
cascading delete with the node claim is a good question, because yeah, I don't see deletion timestamp here, so it's not that, it's just blocked.
I guess I'm curious why the node object wasn't recreated by like a CCM, like either Cuba didn't re-register or CCM didn't add the node back in. That's the part that I'm a little confused by.
The keeper won't re-register the node
Gotcha. Okay.
unless it like the instance restarts, as far as I
Mhm.
remember.
Oh, and the reason it looks like it didn't get caught for cascading delete is they turned Karpenter off, then force deleted the node, then turned Karpenter back on. So they did manufacture this scenario. Which, I mean, doesn't invalidate it. This is something that could potentially happen. But yeah, all right.
Okay.
I'll take a look at this. I don't think I was ever in a meeting when we discussed the use of the priority labels. How are we prioritizing bugs? Are we doing any priority while they're under needs investigation?
Did we write any of this down in the contributing doc, I wonder? Because I don't remember us having a discussion, like a deep discussion about this.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Because this definitely seems like the kind of stuff we should write down somewhere.
Yep, absolutely. Huh? Yeah, no, it doesn't look like it.
We have it in the notes. I mean, we didn't actually add anything about priority labels here.
Yeah,
We can. Yeah.
I see we have the triage labels. We just need the priority ones.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
it might
mean-
make sense to move some of these to the community guidelines page as well to make it clear to everyone what we're doing.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I think it probably makes sense to not prioritize bugs until they've been moved to triage accepted. So, yeah, if everyone's good with that, I'll just move on. All right, cool. Did I did assign myself. Okay. Carpenter does not respect eviction order. So Carpenter should respect eviction order. It's interesting. I've taken a quick look at this issue when it came in last week. It is interesting that they were calling out that it only doesn't happen under specific disruption conditions, because there should actually be no difference as far as the termination controller, which handles drain, is concerned. I think this one at this point, though, just needs follow-up and investigation. I don't think there's, yeah, it's pretty
I
new,
think
so there's,
they'd open this one in the provider repo and I told them to move it over, but I don't think they had good justification. I didn't see a strong example of it happening in the provider repo either, so.
okay. Yeah, I mean, my thought was, and quickly try and reproduce with the specs they provided. If not, put the ball back in their court to provide logs and such. Actually, logs don't really give you the useful information here. There's no like per pod eviction in the logs. So yeah, I guess just you could maybe see it from API server audit logs if they wanted to take a look at theirs to provide evidence. Anyone interested in taking this up? We'll
I'm
move on
wondering,
from-
is this the kind of thing we could model with the Quack provider, or is it going to get too into like pod scheduling to be able to model it that way? Because I'm just wondering if we could write like an end-to-end test that shows this.
No, I think we definitely could with Quack. For what it's worth, we do have functional tests for this. So, and functional tests do act against a real API server, real etcd.
Okay, so like theoretically, we should be able to like model this out with a test and like prove it or something.
Yeah, well, and that's where I'm a little bit confused because we do have a test for this. So just
Right.
need to verify that that test is correct, verify that there's not some inconsistency in the way we're modeling our environment.
Right. Yeah, it makes sense to me. That's why I was wondering if it like gets too much into the pod mechanisms. Because Quack, I'm guessing that Quack acts like KubeMark a little bit. It just kind of like accepts all pods basically.
I don't think so. I think it's as far as scheduling is concerned, it's still in Cube Scheduler's court.
Right, but I
Quack.
mean, like the Quack node just says yeah. Like if it gets a pod scheduled to it, it just says yes. The pod, I'll take the pod basically.
Oh, sure. That maybe. I'm not sure. But I think as far as what we want to test here, it shouldn't really matter what the underlying node
Right.
is.
Right, the behavior should be correct regardless. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, expired node using corn expression. This one's interesting. So cron expression, basically wants a way to say, instead of expire after, oh, was it recreate? Oh, it is. Okay.
Yeah,
This
it
was
was-
recreated upstream.
Yeah, it was in the AWS provider for a few weeks, and I was triaging issues, and I told them to reopen it upstream here.
Got it. I appreciate that it's still corn expression.
Yeah.
But-
Yeah. Yeah, but essentially what they want is just like a scheduled expire after So like at this time, ex expire, but
Got it.
yeah.
Yeah, I actually,
Will note that this, when you start bringing these things into real time increments, now there's all these questions about, okay, well, if I can put expire every Sunday at 6 p.m., like which Sunday, which 6 p.m., like is it the
Mhm.
time on the server? Like, do I need to be able to give the user a way to specify like time zones and stuff like that? So I think there's like more work to go into this if this is like a feature we want to think about.
Yeah, I think for what it's worth, the approach we've taken so far is it's UTC. UTC is your only option. We're not going to dabble in time zones. At least that's the approach we took for disruption budget schedules.
Yeah.
Um, because yeah, that is a whole can of worms.
Right, exactly. I mean, and it's smart just to say, everything's UTC and you can't, do any different. But it's just, yeah, it's this whole other path of debugging and everything.
Yeah. Yeah, and for what it's worth, on this feature, this is something I would be hesitant to want to accept, given that one of I think the main complaints with the move to make expire after forceful at V1 is that you have a lot of this like coordinated termination that can't be rate limited by disruption budgets. And this is now saying, so right now this only affects if you had a scale up, they all scale down together. Now it's any scale up, they all scale down together at the same time. This feels dangerous, but
Yeah, no, that's a great point. Like if you set this up wrong, you could end up like, just like, yeah, removing like tons of nodes all at the same time or something, which might cause a whole other kind of scale disruption.
yeah.
Especially yeah, especially because the times they're saying they would want to expire a node are like on the weekends and not during weekdays. So I don't know.
It's like configured for maximum outage, right?
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think I can go ahead and respond to that effect. Maybe there are some strong use cases for it, but I
Yeah.
can go ahead and respond after this meeting.
Yeah. So technically this has been up for 3 weeks, but just not up here.
Okay, yeah, it was an AWS provider.
Yep.
Got it. Okay. Okay, final one. No, does not deleted after expiration lifetime. So we're going to need some more information on this one, I think. I don't know for sure what could be causing this. But yeah, we'll probably just need more logs. More logs, node claim specs, node specs. The one thing I could maybe think of is if we started terminating the node, there were 0 pods on it at the time. There's a slight race between when we make that decision and when the taint is added, and a do not disrupt pod got scheduled. The other possibility is that there is a volume attachment blocking it, but yeah, I think we'll just need more logs to see what we're actually working with. Okay, and that is it for issues. Looks like we are all caught up. yeah, I'll just go ahead and label this one after, and this one I was going to close out after. So yeah, awesome.
Cool. Thank you, Jason.
Mhm. Yeah, we can take a look at pull requests too. I think were we just trying to go over new pull requests since the last meeting? Because it looks like there probably was not any. Not, I think we can probably call this then. All right. Yeah, thank you all.
All right, thanks. Have a good one, everybody.
Thank you, Jason.